Hey everyone! So, you want to climb Japan's highest mountain, Mount Fuji? Well, hold on a second. This is not just a casual walk in the park. You're not planning to climb in sandals, right? Right? Mount Fuji is 3,776 meters above sea level, making it a high mountain. Altitude sickness? Hypothermia? Have you ever heard of such a term before? Well, let's learn it now. Now, Chapter 1. First, let's talk about the essential gear. If you make a mistake here, you will end up going down instead of reaching the summit. First, let's talk about hiking boots, an absolute must for climbing Mount Fuji. If you underestimate the mountain and try to climb in sneakers, you'll definitely swear, "I'm never doing this again" by the time you descend. My top recommendation is high-cut boots. They provide solid ankle support, making it less likely for you to get tired or injured. Mid-cut boots are fine too, but low-cut sneakers are a no-go. Once you pass the 7th station, you'll enter a rocky zone full of volcanic rocks, where the risk of twisting your ankle skyrockets. If it rains, running shoes? Game over. Your socks will be soaked, and every step will come with an annoying squish, squish sound, not to mention the mental toll. That's why Gore-Tex hiking boots are the best. They're waterproof, breathable, and keep your feet comfortable in any condition. If you're wearing thick socks, make sure to choose a slightly larger size. That's why you should always try them on in store before clicking that Add to Cart button online. Your boots are your best partner, so choose ones that feel right for you. Oh, and climbing in sandals? That's not adventurous, it's reckless. Forget the summit. You'll be begging to turn back by the 5th station.
Next, let's talk about gaiters.
So, you've made it to the descent. But surprise! This gravel path is way trickier than it looks. Tiny rocks sneak into your shoes, and before you know it, your feet are getting a DIY reflexology massage. Ouch. That's where gaiters come to the rescue. They cover the gap between your pants and shoes, stopping those pesky little rocks from turning your hike into a painful experience. Of course, you can try pulling your long pants over your shoes to block the gravel. But let's be real. Once the wind blows or you take a few steps, that protective barrier is gone. And suddenly, it's gravel party time inside your shoes. If you want a foolproof solution, gaiters are the way to go.
Now, about the pants. Let's get straight to the point. The best choice is stretchy hiking pants. They allow you to move freely and make climbing much easier. On the other hand, jeans are a terrible idea. They don't stretch, so every step will require extra effort. And trust me, Mount Fuji's climb is long. By the time you reach the 7th station, you'll be thinking, why did I wear these? I highly recommend wearing long pants for 2 main reasons: protection from injury and cold weather. Especially after the 7th station, the rocky terrain gets serious. The lava rocks are so rough that they can easily tear your pants. And if you're wearing shorts, say hello to scraped knees and instant regret. But if you really want to wear shorts, at least wear leggings underneath. Exposed skin is just asking for trouble. Now, about the shirt. Thinking, t-shirt's fine, right? Nope, you'll freeze. At the 5th station, a short sleeve shirt is okay, but as you climb higher, the temperature drops fast. Near the summit, it can be as cold as winter, so proper preparation is key. Recommended clothing: a lightweight long sleeve shirt and a thicker long sleeve shirt. 2 of each for a change of clothes. Please combine short sleeve shirts with long sleeve shirts. Choose quick drying materials. From the 7th station onward, you'll be climbing over sharp lava rocks. so long sleeves help prevent injuries. Thinking, isn't that too much? Mountains are no joke. The wind can make it even colder, and shivering while climbing is pure misery. On the other hand, if you get hot, just take off a layer. That's the key to layering in mountaineering. Next, let's talk about outerwear. Thinking, I'll warm up as I climb, so I don't need much clothing, right? If you think that, you'll be shivering at the top. Mount Fuji is hot at the bottom, but freezing at the top. The wind is strong, and if you're not prepared, you'll turn into an ice cube. So, let's make sure you have the right cold weather gear. Recommended outerwear: a windbreaker or jacket to block the wind, a lightweight fleece to help adjust your body temperature. A down jacket is a must if you want to see the sunrise. Thinking, do I really need a down jacket? Well, temperatures near the summit can drop to 0 degrees Celsius, 32 degrees Fahrenheit. And if you're waiting for the sunrise, you might be standing in freezing cold for an hour. To stay warm along the way, bring a compact, packable down jacket. It'll be a lifesaver. The key is layering. When it gets cold, put on more layers. When it gets hot, take them off. That's the golden rule of mountaineering. Next, let's talk about underwear. Thinking, underwear doesn't really matter, right? Well, it could actually be a life or death decision in the mountains. Okay, maybe that's a bit dramatic. Here's the thing. When you sweat while climbing and then take a break, your body temperature drops fast. On Mount Fuji, where the temperature changes drastically, sweat can leave you freezing and unable to move. The best underwear for climbing: mesh, nezid. Underwear helps wick away sweat and dries quickly. Quick dry materials avoid cotton. Once it gets wet, it stays wet. Bring a change of underwear if staying in a mountain hut. Wearing the same one all the time? Not ideal. Thinking, but mesh underwear looks kinda uncool? Well, in the mountains, survival is way more important than fashion. Next is an essential item for climbing Mount Fuji. It's called socks. What? Socks are obvious? You're naive. You'll soon realize the depth of choosing socks. If you're climbing Mount Fuji, I recommend thick wool socks. Why? First of all, thick socks will reduce foot fatigue surprisingly. To put it in perspective, if normal socks are like a thin cushion, thick wool socks are like a fluffy mattress. You'll feel like your feet are in a hotel suite inside your shoes. Furthermore, the biggest advantage of wool socks is odor prevention. If you take off your shoes after climbing, if your shoes start to smell bad, the excitement of the spectacular view will be ruined. But wool socks will free you from that fear. This is also important for maintaining friendships after climbing. By the way, if you're looking for good socks, check out Workman. They have a wide selection of high-quality socks at reasonable prices. Next, we will guide you in choosing the best hat. First of all, the ultraviolet rays of Mount Fuji are a formidable opponent. It's as if they are shouting from above, "Get a tan!" Therefore, a hat with UV protection is essential, and the dust on Mount Fuji is more than you can imagine. If you forget your hat, your head may end up in the desert zone after you come down. Furthermore, on Mount Fuji, which is windy, there is a high risk that your hat will be blown away. Choose a hat with a chin strap. It may look a bit adventurous, but that's also part of the fun of traveling. And if it's waterproof, you can calmly deal with sudden rain. Our recommendation is, yes, Gore-Tex. This will be your complete victory against sudden bad weather. Next, let's talk about gloves. First of all, work gloves are fine on sunny days. But when you use your hands to grab rocks in the lava zone, your fingers will definitely scream if you don't have gloves. This is where you'll realize how important gloves are. Furthermore, it's colder at the summit than you'd imagine. Without gloves, your hands will look like ice sculptures. Make sure you bring gloves that are well protected from the cold. And if you want to take photos with your smartphone, it's important to choose gloves that are touchscreen compatible. When you reach the peak and think, "I'm going to take a photo," you have to take your gloves off. It's a real pain. Of course, don't forget to prepare for the rain. Choose gloves with waterproof functionality. Gore-Tex is recommended. This will keep you warm and waterproof. Next, let's talk about sunglasses. It's a big mistake to think that sunglasses are just a fashion item. First of all, sunglasses are an important item for UV protection. In fact, one of the causes of sunburn is UV rays entering through the eyes. So if you forget your sunglasses, your skin will burn while you are looking at the magnificent view of Mount Fuji. It could be a little like a horror movie. Furthermore, when descending Mount Fuji, there is a lot of dust. If you don't have sunglasses, your eyes will end up facing a desert storm. In order to enjoy mountain climbing, it is important to ensure the safety of your vision. And lastly, let me say this as the only reason to wear sunglasses. They look cool. If you pose with sunglasses on at the top of the mountain, it will definitely be Instagrammable. Next, let's talk about rain gear. First, make sure to choose rain gear that has separate top and bottom parts. Unfortunately, ponchos and umbrellas are not useful on Mount Fuji. Ponchos in particular run the risk of being blown around by the wind and becoming a living kite. We recommend rain gear that is breathable and stretchable. Enter Workman's Ironum. It has a water resistance of 20,000 millimeters, breathability of 25,000 grams per meter squared 24 hours, and stretch functionality, and costs an amazing 4,900 yen for a top and bottom set. Of course, Gore-Tex is also the best, but the price is a bit maybe more expensive than climbing Mount Fuji. Incidentally, even on days when it doesn't rain, rain gear is very useful as a wind and cold protection measure. I also used Ironum, and my windbreaker became just a burden. Next, let's talk about headlamps. Climbing a mountain in the dark with a flashlight and saying one hand is full is a thing of the past. Especially when aiming to see the sunrise, you leave the mountain hut in the middle of the night. So if both hands are not free, you cannot use trekking poles, and it is dangerous. There are 3 points to consider when choosing a headlamp. First, it should be able to adjust the angle. This way, you can clearly see your feet. Second, it needs to have a battery that lasts at least 6 hours. Make sure the battery does not run out on the way. And most importantly, never rely on the light from your smartphone. If you trip and your smartphone shatters, you won't be able to enjoy the sunrise, so prepare a reliable headlamp. Continuing on, let's talk about a backpack, an essential companion for mountain climbing. Choose a size that is at least 25 to 30 liters. By the way, I packed my clothes for the return journey, and 30 liters was just about enough. Wear a backpack with belts on your chest and waist. It distributes the weight and provides excellent stability when you wear it. Plus, lots of pockets make it easy to organize your belongings. And don't forget to prepare for the rain. A waterproof cover is an essential item. There are many different types of backpacks, so I recommend going to a store and consulting with the staff before purchasing one. Next, we'll talk about trekking poles. First and foremost, they're excellent companions that help you maintain balance and reduce the strain on your feet. Without them, you might find yourself in a situation where your feet are at their limit and you can't move. There are 2 main types of trekking poles. Folding poles are convenient because they can be stored in a backpack, but they take a bit of time to assemble. On the other hand, telescopic poles are convenient because they can be quickly assembled, but they cannot be stored in a backpack. Both have their pros and cons, so choose the one that suits your style. There are also a variety of handle shapes, so we recommend trying them out in a shop. Next, let's talk about drinking water, which is essential when climbing mountains. I recommend bringing about 2 liters of sports drink. Water does not replenish the minerals your body needs. Bring a few dedicated water bottles or 500 milliliters plastic bottles. You can buy water at mountain huts along the way, but it costs around 300 to 500 yen for 500 milliliters. So please consider the balance between your physical strength and your wallet. By the way, it is a rule on Mount Fuji to take your trash home with you, so I recommend crushable plastic bottles. There are high-tech hydration systems, but to be honest, I have never seen anyone using them. LOL. Next, let's talk about on-the-go foods. If you run out of energy while climbing, you may end up lamenting the summit is too far away. So, make sure to prepare something to replenish your energy. We recommend nuts, chocolate, biscuits, and other foods that you can eat while walking. Jelly is also a great way to replenish your nutrients. The key is to choose foods that can be eaten in one bite. Also, to avoid producing waste, it's convenient to take food out of small bags or boxes and put it in a Ziploc bag. You won't have to panic at the top of the mountain and think, "My trash is all over the place." Next, we'll talk about an unexpected item that's useful for mountain climbing: towels. And no, we're not talking about ordinary towels. These can quickly become all-purpose mountain climbing items. First of all, you can use them to wipe away sweat or as a mask or neck warmer, so be sure to bring one or two with you. We also recommend the traditional Japanese tenugui hand towel, which doesn't take up much space. You can actually get these at the shop at the 5th station. Tenugui can be used to wrap up dirty clothes or as a bandage, and they dry faster than towels. They're truly all-purpose. Imagine yourself at the top of Mount Fuji, thinking, "Oh, I can use this," and prepare your towels accordingly. Next, I'll talk about a simple but reliable item: the headband. If you thought, "Aren't headbands just for fashion?" You're wrong. This is actually a lifesaver for sweaty climbers. Wiping off your sweat every time you climb will drain your energy. But if you wear a headband, it will catch the sweat from your forehead and give you a clear view. I tried wearing one under my hat, and now I can't live without it. It was a godsend for someone like me who sweats a lot. When climbing Mount Fuji, a little ingenuity can make a big difference. Be sure to wear a headband and enjoy a comfortable climb. Next, let's talk about mobile phones. Of course, they are very useful for taking photos and videos. But if your battery runs out when you're looking at a beautiful view, you'll want to scream, "Why at such an important time?" First of all, if you like taking selfies, a selfie stick is useful. You can take pictures of yourself whenever you want, so it's perfect for making memories. And don't forget to bring a mobile battery and cord for charging. In cold places, the battery will run out quickly, so don't forget to warm it up with body heat or a hand warmer. There are many signs on Mount Fuji, so you will almost never get lost. But if you have a mountain climbing app on your smartphone, you will feel even more secure. It is convenient for recording the climbing situation, and you may feel a little sense of accomplishment. And be sure to take advantage of the convenient functions of a watch. If you combine it with a smartphone, you will have no fear. Next, let's talk about earplugs. If you're trying to take a nap in a mountain hut and the person next to you is snoring loudly, or you're bothered by the sound of people moving around in the middle of the night, you'll be sleep deprived, and it will be too hard to climb the next day. That's where earplugs come in. With these, you can shut out unpleasant sounds and get a comfortable nap. You'll be able to rest in comfortable silence, so you can focus all your energy on climbing the next day. Next, we will talk about wet tissues, an item that is secretly very useful when climbing Mount Fuji. If you think, "What, do I really need such a thing?" This is actually a savior on the mountain. Water is a precious commodity on Mount Fuji. There are no baths, let alone sinks. The only place you can wash your hands is in the toilet, so having wet tissues is very convenient as you can quickly wipe off dirt from your hands and face. They are also very helpful for wiping off sweat. However, if you bring too many, it will become a burden, so we recommend bringing a small amount in a Ziploc bag. This will help you maintain a clean feeling even on Mount Fuji. There is no doubt that this item will make you think, "I'm glad I brought this," from the bottom of your heart during the climb. Next, let's talk about medicine. First, make sure you don't forget any of the medications you normally take. Also, bring along small amounts of stomach medicine, band-aids, anti-diarrheal medicine, etc. for added peace of mind. What's more, stores also sell handy items called emergency kits. These contain tape, painkillers, and thin aluminium windscreens all in one, and are very reliable. You never know what's going to happen in the mountains, but if you're well prepared, you can enjoy climbing, feeling like a total pro. Next, I'll talk about sunscreen, another essential item for mountain climbing. What? Sunscreen for mountain climbing? You may think so, but the UV rays of Mount Fuji are not to be underestimated. If you go home with a sunburned red face, your memories will be stained with red pain. Of course, sunscreen that you apply is good, but I recommend the spray type. Above all, it's quick. With the type that you apply, there are areas where it leaks, but with a spray, you can cover every corner with one spritz. Make sure to apply it thoroughly to all exposed skin. For example, your arms and face. And if possible, don't forget your forehead. Even if you wear a mountain climbing hat, your forehead can still get burned. It is also recommended that women bring a small set of the cosmetics they usually use with them. Just a little effort on your tired face will make your return photo the best smile ever. Next, I will talk about the secret weapon for mountain climbing. The oxygen can. Eh? An oxygen can? If you think it's like a space exploration, wait a moment. It's actually an item that is useful for preventing altitude sickness. However, you should use it with the understanding that it is a temporary first aid. The amount you can carry will not make you invincible mode. It is also said that using an oxygen can when your body has just started to acclimate to the altitude will have the opposite effect. Rather, on Mount Fuji, it is basic to spend a few hours at the 5th station or a mountain hut to acclimatize to the altitude. Also, deep breathing is very important. It is important to take a slow, deep breath and exhale to relax. If you still feel that you need an oxygen can, bring just one. During the climb, you may suddenly feel like, if I use this, I might become as energetic as a hero, ? However, in reality, it is only a placebo. The most important thing when climbing Mount Fuji is to enjoy the journey slowly and without rushing. Next, let's talk about masks. Aren't masks just items for hiding your face? If you think so, wait a minute. They are very important items on Mount Fuji, both for protection against the cold and for protection against dust. It is often very cold near the summit of Mount Fuji, so wearing a mask to protect your face will protect your nose and mouth from the cold wind. Preventing the feeling of freezing may make you feel a bit like a hero. Also, on the mountain trail, the wind can be strong and dust can be kicked up. At that time, if you have a mask, you can breathe smoothly and you won't have to worry about eating an unexpected feast of sand. Be sure to bring a mask with you. Next, we will talk about a must-have item for cold weather: hand warmers. At Mount Fuji, you may leave early in the morning to see the sunrise or take a nap in a mountain hut. If you think, I don't care about the cold, at that time, you may end up shivering from the cold. Disposable hand warmers are a standard, but recently, there are even hand warmers that function as mobile batteries. Not only can they keep you warm, but they can also charge your smartphone, which feels a bit like the future. But whichever you choose, they will warm your cold hands and body. If you keep one in your pocket, it will be a reliable ally even in the cold. To enjoy the beautiful sunrise and majestic scenery of Mount Fuji, be sure to take measures against the cold. Warm your body and mind with a warm hand warmer and create the best memories. Next, let's talk about inner sheets. When you sleep in a mountain hut, the sleeping bag provided is actually shared by everyone. I'm sure there are people who are curious about this, right? In such cases, if you have an inner sheet, you can rest assured. My recommendation is the one from Nature Hike. It is thin and light, so it is very portable. If you buy it at a sale, it is easy on your wallet, and it is a versatile item that can be used not only for Mount Fuji, but also for your next trip. Also, these days, it is sometimes not possible to borrow blankets on bus tours, so it is very useful in such cases. Be sure to prepare an inner sheet, a reliable companion both in terms of hygiene and mental well-being, and enjoy a comfortable climb of Mount Fuji. A mountain dream starts with a comfortable sleep. Next, I'll talk about portable toilets and toilet paper. There are many mountain huts on the Yoshida Trail, so the toilet situation is relatively easy. However, just in case, I recommend bringing a portable toilet, especially in the morning when you're waiting for the sunrise at the summit. The toilets can become chaotic. Please be careful, as it can be especially crowded for women. Portable toilets can be easily purchased at 100 yen shops, so it's a good idea to just pop one in your bag. I also recommend bringing a small amount of toilet paper. There are quite a few situations where you won't be able to do without it in an emergency. It can be used for multiple purposes, not just as a toilet, but also for wiping and wrapping, so it's worth having it. Enjoy the beautiful sunrise at Mount Fuji and a sense of security to make this the best trip ever. Next, I will talk about preparations for emergencies. These are health insurance card, my number card, and passport. What? You may be wondering, health insurance card for mountain climbing? But you're right. While you can enjoy the grandeur of nature on Mount Fuji, unexpected situations can also occur. Therefore, prepare these forms of identification for your peace of mind. But you may be worried about what to do if you lose them. In such cases, it is a good idea to bring a copy with you. With a copy, you don't have to worry and your sense of security is doubled. If you keep it hidden at the bottom of your bag, it will come in handy in case of an emergency. Next, we will talk about money and wallets, an item that is surprisingly often overlooked. Some people may be surprised to hear that a cup ramen costs 1,000 yen and a set meal costs 1,500 yen at the top of Mount Fuji and say, wow, that's expensive. However, when you consider that these items have been transported over a rugged path, the prices are understandable. In addition, goods that will become a memento of your climb are also sold at the top. Be sure to check out souvenirs unique to Mount Fuji, especially commemorative stamps. You will also need money to use mountain huts if you suddenly become unwell. It costs 200 to 300 yen to use the toilet, so it is convenient to prepare plenty of 100 yen coins. Drinking water also costs 300 to 500 yen for a 500 milliliter plastic bottle, so don't forget to bring it when you want to stay hydrated. Finally, I will talk about garbage bags and cloth duct tape. If you are surprised and ask, garbage bags, are they necessary for mountain climbing? Yes, they are extremely necessary. There is no place to throw away garbage on Mount Fuji. Even at the 5th station, there are no trash cans. It is good manners to crush plastic bottles and candy wrappers into small pieces and take them home. Prepare a garbage bag for that purpose. It is important to protect the beautiful scenery of the mountain while climbing, isn't it? And one more thing, cloth duct tape. You may be wondering, what do you use this for? But it is very useful as a first aid when something is torn or broken. If the sole of your shoe comes off or the strap of your backpack breaks, you can rest assured if you have cloth duct tape. Just prepare about 1 to 2 meters. If you roll it up small and carry it around, it won't be a burden. Above, we have introduced the equipment necessary for climbing Mount Fuji. Which items you bring is up to you. Be well prepared and make sure to successfully climb Mount Fuji. By the way, you can also rent the equipment you need. If you can't bring all the climbing gear from your home country, renting may be more economical than buying it. It can be a hassle to carry all the climbing gear you've bought back to your country, can't it? Even if you think, oh, I should have brought this during the climb, that might also become a good memory. So everyone, have a wonderful Mount Fuji adventure. In the next video, I would like to give a lecture on how to plan your schedule for climbing Mount Fuji and things to be careful of. Please look forward to it.